Okay, so you might recall from the last video that we went over how to draw the monopoly diagram. Remember that monopolies, like all businesses, are focused on maximizing profit. What is profit on this diagram? It's that neon green box, abnormal profit, right? Remember that, or economic profit, remember that economic profit is the area that's left over from revenues when costs are taken away. So if we, color this in, P star times Q star, that gives us total revenue, this big green box. And then at Q star, if you go up, you see where it hits the AC curve, right? So this AC curve hits the Q star line at that point. And then that area left over, I'm going to put an orange because I think it just looks, just looks a little bit more harmonious. That area is the cost, right? That's the total cost. So total revenue minus total cost gives you this little green rectangle left over, which is the economic profit, abnormal profit, supernormal profit, whatever, profit, okay? But monopolies don't always run a profit. In fact, let's see if I can paste this. This very creepy looking, it's the Crypt Keeper, right? No, it's John D. Rockefeller, who started Standard Oil, right? He was the richest man, I think, in history ever, or the richest private businessman. And what he did was predatory pricing. He looks like a predator. He looks really kind of creepy. So let's get rid of his spooky face. But understand, what he did when he ran Standard Oil is he would go up to refineries and then offer oil at like a way, way lower price and drive his competitors out of business, right? And that's how he grew his monopoly to become Standard Oil, which eventually became, these other companies. It was broken up by, I think, Teddy Roosevelt, and became Exxon and Chevron, and in Canada it was Imperial Oil. And even if you look at an Esso today, right, like an Esso gas station, the SO, that's Standard Oil. Anyway, that's a real life monopoly. But he would run his monopoly at cost. So how do we show this? Well, it's really easy. So if it's just the fixed cost changing, it's super easy, okay, extremely easy. All you have to do is you just drag up the average cost curve, and we'll put it up to here, right? And remember, the firm is still producing where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but I'm going to take this line, I'm going to drag it up to what's the cost? Well, it's right there, okay? And then let me do this too. Okay, I'm going to have to tidy that up a little bit. But now what we're going to see is that actually it's this whole area that becomes cost, right? And then the revenue is only up to here, right? So the net cost is larger, meaning that the firm is running a loss, right? And so eventually, let me turn that to white. Eventually, this firm would ultimately shut down, okay? Now, that's if there's just an increase in the fixed cost. On the other hand, if there's just some change in the variable cost, let's go back. If there's just some change in the variable cost, let's say that the variable cost rise. That's going to mean that the average cost rises, but it also means that the marginal cost rises. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to move that up, just up to here. Okay. Do you hear my neighbor snoring? Shh, we have to keep him asleep. Sometimes because I'm a sicko, I'll go up to like hear him snort, and then I'll play this really loud alarm right next to his door, because I'm in Taiwan and the walls are thin. Anyway, sorry. So the average cost rises, but also if the variable cost rises, that would mean that the marginal cost would shift in a little bit. So we'll do that too. And let's label this, right? So remember, you can do a little subscript here. Let's pop this down to AC2. Sorry, subscript, not superscript. Subscript. And then that is going to be also a subscript, MC2. I guess if we wanted to make it really fancy, we could do AC1 and MC1. Why not? Let's take our time. Put your time into it. Don't rush. Okay, you probably have to rush because if you're doing this in an exam, you got to move quickly. But move swiftly. Don't rush, right? Just move swiftly, okay? All right, so now what's going on here? Again, we still have this issue of the cost. There's going to be a firm running. Pardon me, can I speak? The firm is going to run a loss here. But what we have to remember is that now the quantities changed because the MC has changed, right? So now we have to look for where the marginal revenue hits the marginal cost, right? The new marginal cost, which is right there. So we got to change this a little bit, we're going to move this over to right here. And remember, the maximum price is along the demand curve, okay? And let me just label this. We'll call this like QC, I don't know, QC2. We'll make that subscript, okay? And so now, right, what we have to do is we'll identify, okay, so this area is my total revenue. And let me turn this one off. Okay, so this is my new total revenue. But again, at this quantity, we're going to drag it all the way up to here to get our total cost, which is going to be a bit higher. And so what we see is that the firm, if the variable cost adjusts, the firm is also here still running a loss, but now the marginal cost has changed. So it's not too much. It's just a subtle difference. But yeah, the firm is running a loss. Whether it's driven by a fixed cost change or variable cost change, monopolies can run a loss, right? And you can be like John D and do that for the purpose of driving your customers out of business. Okay, that's it.